those that are in a row, or close to it. Let's start out the meeting with bucket fills or something good like we always do. Who's got one? Heather. Heather wanted to start this off. I don't know where she is. We'll have to wait for Heather. Who else? Who else has something good?
Okay, I want to feel Lydia putting up with all of my really dumb questions and for helping me conquer the new questions.
I guarantee your questions are not dumb compared to some questions. Good question. What else? What else we got? Heather, I was looking for you.
Oh, something good?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a grandma.
We got Saturday night or Friday night.
Yeah, Friday.
We get a text and she's like, "Baby's coming." And when do you leave?
I leave on the 2nd.
So Heather's gonna be leaving for Japan to meet her little baby grandson for a month.
Yeah.
So that's super exciting. What else? What else is good? Rick?
So I was reminded that the best way to sell houses is to go on vacation. So every time you go on vacation, stuff happens. So while I was gone, Sherry and Jordan took care of. I was in Squaw Valley, Palisade Mountains with my son and daughter snowboarding. After they got 2 feet of snow the night before we got there, and it was insane. Like I've never experienced before. But I was able to do that because they were back here, putting contracts together and getting everything sold. I also spent. Well, you saw I was wearing a boot a couple of months ago because I had ankle surgery. So I spent up until I got cleared 1 week prior to snowboarding. And with God's grace, I did not get injured. And we had the time of our life. So it was amazing.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you to everybody who's been getting us in their pre-markets for our whole team's buyers. It's been awesome. Derek, Ryan, Cole, Sherry, and Rick, they're always getting us in there. So thank you guys for those and awesome opportunities.
Super cool. Did you guys put them together?
So hopefully, I think we will be.
You're like, maybe. Awesome. Maureen.
I was just gonna to piggyback on what Rick was saying. To work in an office where you have so many people that are willing to help. I'm leaving Friday for Sedona, and Alex is going to step in and show my buyers some places. And last week I was dealing with a multiple offer situation and was able to get a hold of Eric right away. And he was like, you need to reach out to Ben Zurich. He's got some good feedback on this. Immediately, Ben called me back, helped me out. Jelena was willing to help me on her way back to Guatemala. Like we work in an office where everybody is just willing to reach out and help each other. And it just like, especially being a single agent, you don't feel like you have to, you can actually go on vacation and you can not freak out about it. So
Awesome. Awesome. Right.
I do want to add to that. Is John Butler in the room?
He's on Zoom.
Is he on video?
No.
He is online.
Yep, he's on
Okay,
Zoom.
so last Saturday, I mean, everybody needs help. And last Saturday, I was gonna call the tutor of the day. But I'm the tutor of the day. So I called John and I was like, John, I was gonna call the.
Can I ask, did you actually look up who the tutor of the day was?
No, I was thinking,
Okay.
who do I call? 'Cause it's Saturday at like 10 in the morning. And I'm like, well, I already have checked with myself and I don't know the answer. So I called John and he said just that. I would have called the tutor of the day, but it's me. So, and he helped out. I mean, it was great, so things are still complicated in real estate. Everybody needs a little help. So he was available Saturday morning.
2 more.
I would like to, where's Jelena? Jelena, even though she's been gone for a couple months, she's still been very present and we constantly learn so much from her. And I have my first closing next week and I am thrilled with her help. She really does an awesome job.
Awesome. We're very grateful for Jelena. I'm especially grateful for Jelena. What else? One more. Hi.
All right, I'll go. Last week, I can tell the market is picking up. I ended up scheduling 12 appointments.
Wow.
Yeah. How many people?
And Tony's here. That's awesome. Super cool. All right. Next, We talked about this a few different times. We have Scott Leroy. Some of you are taking advantage of it, some of you are not. So this is complimentary to you. The office has, met with them so that they can do all the things included here. So if anyone doesn't have their website set up, I don't know, their database, you can do that all through Scott Leroy. So, yeah.
Do they enter your database for you?
I believe it's a CVS that they help you with to be able to download it, import it, and then, kind of give you instructions on how to clean it up. If I recall correctly.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Any other questions? And who is utilizing this right now? Okay, a few people are. All right. Printer changes. This is happening. Some of you have already changed, I think, yesterday, right? And some today. When are the individual printer changes happening?
I think I'll send it out on Friday to
Okay.
anyone else who hasn't.
Okay, so anyone that hasn't will get the email on Friday. Lydia also sent out a very detailed email about what the subject line of the email that you're gonna get and then how you have to do it, because each person has to do it on their own. So if something comes in from, what is it, printer,
Paper cut high.
paper cut, yeah, do not delete it. I already had to have her send it to me, because I couldn't find it. But it might go into your junk mail too, because it went into a few people's junk mail, so look in both places. Heather, do you want to say something?
I was just gonna say, we have the old printers for a couple of weeks, but you guys gotta start using the new ones, as soon as you get that invite, download them and start using them as soon as you can.
I will say, when you download the printers, you're gonna get a crazy code. Just remember that code for a little bit. Once everyone is on the printers, I'm gonna change everyone's code back to what it used to be. So in the beginning, you're gonna get a weird code. Remember it for a little bit.
Maybe take a picture of it.
Yep.
The 6-digit code, numerical and alpha. Numbers and letters, yeah.
Mostly letters.
It is a lot of letters.
How'd that go for you?
It was
But you did it, and I'm so proud.
We're all proud. All right, so March trainings, we have our team meeting today. We have our R&R at 4:00 today at McCormick's. Right? Anything you want to add to that, Rick?
Yeah, the subject we're gonna talk about today is, we're doing McCormick's obviously because of the.
St. Patrick's Day.
There you go, that thing. So you don't have to be lucky to win in multiple offers, so we're gonna talk about how. to win.
Oh, I think
You see, I
Yeah.
thought about that one.
Yeah, just talk to
So, yeah.
Shane about that.
Yeah, Shane just won in 57 offers. 57 offers and his offer won. I'm like, that's crazy.
Well, then let's make sure he's there,
Let's make sure
somebody
he's
who
there.
knows
So
what he
4
did.
to 6-ish, will be happy hour, tonight. Hope to see you there. And then we have 6 personal perspectives on the 25th. And then Kevin is gonna be doing our team meeting on the 26th. I will be in Mexico. And we still have our Friday movies and popcorn. So everyone has been enjoying the popcorn, maybe not watching the movies as much. But either way, they're always playing in here on Friday. Oh, and please sign up for classes. Each of those that you can click on and actually register. So then we know anyone who's teaching them, how many people are going to be there, because they can also kind of, shape the training to how many people are coming.
Amy, how you had mentioned that we have a continuing education class day?
It's coming up.
I
It's
just, I
coming
wanna
up.
make sure I didn't.
I actually cued him in to ask that.
No, you
It's April. Leadership's gonna be out of the office on Tuesday afternoon. We have a regional event that's happening, so make sure all checks and MLS updates are to us by 11 a.m. on Tuesday. Oh, I don't.
Courtney or Rachel could probably talk about this.
Alex is going to be a dad soon. And a lot of you know his wife Samantha. She used to be an agent here in our office. So we're doing a little baby shower next week after the team meeting. There'll be food, games, no pressure bringing a gift, but there will be some gifts to open. And then you can scan there for the registry if you want.
Awesome. I won't be there, but. All right, so here's the CE Blitz. There's gonna be an email getting sent out today. Which I really appreciate the 60% of you that open my email when I send it, because now I can track who does it. Just FYI, and I get to like look and be like, that person didn't open my email. But this is gonna be sent out later today. It's gonna have all of the different CE classes, 1 credit each, all day on April 10th. So it's 10 a.m. to 3:30. You have to individually sign up for each class. So when I send that email out, do the grab yours and sign up that way so that we know who is all coming, because that way you'll get the CE, plus we know how many people will be there. Any questions around that?
The limitation for how many
I have 70 on there.
You're
And
gonna
there
send
will
us
be
a link
lunch.
to sign up?
I'm gonna send you an email today that has all of those. It'll also go on our Instagram page, and we'll probably send emails, you'll have them, in our like Monday peak of the week. Questions around that at all?
deadline again?
June 15th preferably.
May
but-
15th. Let's get it. No, because then I'm rolling over to like.
June.
It really is June 15th though. All right, Eric.
Yep. Oh, yeah, we're hosting tomorrow, Full Tilt. I sent out an email this morning as well, so you can do the madness or the bracket. The madness. The bracket, if you want, it's free and this stuff, so feel free to fill it out. I think you can do too. And then just put this in the back of your mind, the 22nd, we'll have in our head of our appraisal management company. She's a wealth of information and a bit of a hillbilly, so he's funny to talk to. So please be there, and there will be tacos.
Awesome. All right, and what most of you are here for, because I feel like the room's never really this full. So Tony, come on up.
Yay.
So, first of all, I want to thank you, because I know this is not something that you love doing, just like I don't necessarily love being interviewed in front of people. Some people don't know you, right? So what we're going to start with is just tell us a little bit about you personally, kind of who you are. You know, all the things, maybe.
We did that one at the end.
Nope, we cannot. The fun thing about now is I get to like ask the questions, which is really fun for me.
Well, maybe in like another 5 years, I'll be able to actually answer this question. No, I guess in all seriousness, I guess I'll just start with, married to my wife, Nicole. We started our business together. We have 3 wonderful girls. We have 3 dogs, 9 chickens, I think.
Depends on the day.
Depends. And I guess just about me, I grew up, only child, had a period of time where it was just quite lonely, you know, I just wanted to be around people. And I really didn't understand relationships very well. I didn't understand this interaction between people, and I probably still struggle with that. It's still to this today. And I think by the time I was maybe 7th grade, I like got my like first friend. Like, oh, like this guy's not. Well, I had other friends before that, but like the first one that like I didn't know that invited me into this group, and I was like, yeah, this is really cool. So then there through high school, I just like had all kinds of friends through high school. I had this really wonderful core group of 5 guy friends. It turned into be a blast. But there was a period of big struggle, like this awkward time of like elementary school, like figuring out who I was and how I wanted to behave. And, I don't know, that's the question. But
No, but I think that's
I think that's kind of how I like, I think we play, I think in our lives, at least for me, like I keep like replaying certain things, you know, over and over, and I tried not to get caught in what one of them was. And then I ended up finding, I started doing things that were probably not acceptable, at least certainly to my parents. Like I loved fireworks, I loved fire, I loved playing with like things that were dangerous, and And I remember lighting this truck on fire with gasoline in the back
Oh.
of it and sending it down my driveway. And my parents were like, oh my God, like we need to get him into something productive. So then they ended up signing me up for all these art classes. And so I started taking art classes. I took like stone sculpture and welding and
Also had fire in it.
it had fire. And then I found ceramics. And then I did ceramics for forever. I did that all the way through college. I ended up paying for college or a lot of it. And then I skied. And those were the two things that kind of carried me through and kept my attention.
So coming from that background, right, how did you get into real estate?
I got into real estate. So when I was 16, my parents got divorced. 2 years left of school, 1.5 years left of school. Went to Wayzata High School. I was living in South Plymouth at this time. I grew up in a neighborhood called Imperial Hills. I own a bunch of houses in there now, probably because of some trauma that I wanted to go back. And so then my parents get divorced. My mom moves into Chelsea Woods. Where's Lowell? Well, here. Anyway, Lowell moved into Chelsea Woods. And Heather, you're in there.
I live in Chelsea.
Yeah. So I lived on Archer Court, lived in a townhouse in N unit, 1724 Archer Court. And so I lived there. My mom gave me the master bedroom for my last year of high school. I was like a king. It was the coolest thing at parties over there at friends that came in. So flash forward, I go off to school. I went to the University of Denver, met my wife, Nicole, sort of there, sort of here. And then I get a phone call. So I had a great relationship with my mom. So we talked a lot. My dad was kind of non-existent. Once they got divorced, he kind of disappeared for a little while. And he's kind of back now. Like we see him once a week, and he tries to be in as involved as he can. And so then I get this phone call. So flash forward, I'm in school. It's 2001. I don't remember what, this was the end of 2001, so it's probably September, October, I get this phone call. It's from my mom's best friend, and she says, hey, you need to jump. This is 3 a.m. too, by the way. So she calls me 3 a.m. She's like, hey, you need to come home. What do you mean? You mean I need to come home? It's like, well, your mom's not doing well. She's been in the hospital for who knows how long. She'd been in her house being taken care of by another very close friend of hers for 6 months. I came to learn later. I had no idea. And then walked into the hospital when I got home, and I walked right by her room. I didn't even recognize her. Like, yeah, it wasn't my mom. She was this tiny little frail person. And 2 or 3 days later, she was gone. So she left me a house. So I hung on to the house. And by the way, I got a letter from a realtor 2 or 3 days after she passed away, said, hey, and I know who this realtor is because she lived across the street. She says, hey, if you want to sell the house, I'll do it for 4%. She writes this in. Really? That's your plan? So don't do that. But so I learned really quickly, like I knew that I had that impression from real estate, but all I knew was I was going to keep the house. I sold, well, when I say I make this mistake a lot, where it's not always I. It's like, so Nicole and I were together when we were 18 years old. We talked about getting married within 2 weeks of us getting together. So she was right by my side the whole time. So we stopped out of school for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And then we got rid of everything, sold everything, all the belongings, but kept the house. And I rented it out. I hired a property manager, managed that from Denver here, and then had a flood within.
Yeah, let's go back. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot in a short period of time, right? Like you have a loss, a really large loss. And you go into this action mode, right? Of
I need to do something with this house, you find a property manager, like, how did that all happen? Like, it just
It
happened.
was a whirlwind. My neighbor across the street, I talked to him. He's like, "Oh, I hired a property manager, this guy, Jim." Jim's still in real estate today. He's a great guy. Jim. He's at a tiny little brokerage, but really wonderful guy. And so I hired him and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, we've got a problem." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, the house is flooded." Doesn't sound good, right? I got the water from the city of Plymouth. The water bill from the city of Plymouth is $1,000 back in 2001. The water was running for 2 weeks and the city came and shut it off.
In the house?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was destroyed, which actually ended up being really cool because I had a signed lease. So then I learned how cool insurance can be. So they paid me the full lease. I got a brand new house. They fixed everything. And then I kept it, rented it, raised the rent. And I got a new tenant. And like, sign me up.
Okay, so that was the start of it.
Yeah.
And then where did you go after that? So you're still in Denver. What happened then?
Finished school. I did a dual degree. I did business. I knew I wanted to be in business somehow. I just didn't know really what it was. And then I was always into fine art. I was in ceramics and bunch of different things. So I was on scholarship for ceramics, and I used that to pay for my business degree. And then I taught skiing at the same time. And I just kept busy. Like I didn't really process my mom's death at all. It was years before. Nicole was always like really worried. She's like, "He just never talks about it." I'm like, "Well, I don't talk about it with anybody that asks."
Yeah.
No, but nobody ever asks. Then I don't have to talk about it.
I just thought I'd ask, right? You open that door for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so you graduated and then you moved back here. Still have the rental, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What happened
No.
then?
No.
I really don't know Tony's full story, so when I'm asking this, I'm like,
No,
we're really finding this out together.
I graduated in 2003. And then I was doing so well in ceramics, I ended up, there's a lot more there. I don't really want to go to, well, whatever. If you want to talk about that, we can, but, so I ended up doing really well in ceramics, and I ended up getting into, I think, 3 different galleries, one in San Francisco, one in Denver, and then one somewhere else. And so I had these shows, and the very first large scale piece I sold for, I can't remember if it was, I think it was 8,000 I sold, and I sold it to the chancellor of the University of Denver. The guy owned this avocado farm. The guy's name was Dan Ritchie. And there was so much to my story about, like, when my mom passed away, I learned the power of relationships. So I became really good friends with the dean of the business school that I was in. And the amount of influence that somebody can have on a situation is, I mean, just otherworldly. I couldn't believe what this woman stepped in and did. Like she acted as a mother figure in a lot of ways. She helped out Nicole big time, because Nicole, since we weren't married, stopping out of school and then going back, like they don't just let you do that. Don't take your finals. Well, the dean stepped in and was like, no, told all the professors, like, no, like you're gonna do this. So she was able, we were both able to finish, and so like I really learned that lesson. I'll never forget that lesson. It's so much about who you know and what relationship you've got with them. So anyway, so I developed this relationship with the chancellor, and it was kind of odd because he reminds me of like Mr. Burns from but a really nice, like kind, gentle version of that. And so he told me, he's like, "Hey, if this piece fits," I get him to come to my show. So he comes to the show, and he was coming off of a flight, like he was coming from the airport, coming straight to the show. Like he's a busy guy, super busy. But I was on it. I followed up with him probably 50 times before I would stop by his office. I'm like, "Hey, my show's on this date. It's from this time. Are you gonna come?" So he comes, and then his assistant comes. Ended up selling both of them pieces, but he says, "Hey, if it fits in," so here's what was interesting. So the dean of the business school shows up at my show and she's standing there with Chancellor Ritchie. And I'm looking at both of them and he looks up at these pieces and the pieces are 8 feet tall. He's this little guy. So he's looking up at him. He's like, wow, this is something. And she looks at me and she's like, you know what, after he left, she's like, you know what that means, right? She's like, well, he wants to buy one, or maybe he wants to buy all. No. Yeah, that didn't even cross my mind. Like that didn't even go anywhere. So then I was like, oh, he wants to buy one. So she plants this seed in my head. So then like, okay, well, he wants to buy one. So I guess I better get a price list together and I better find out which one he wants or if he wants all of them.
Okay, so you went to this show and you just had no prices? It's just like, I don't know.
Well, it wasn't that kind of show. It was a
Okay.
senior show. So
Okay,
it was my
got it.
final, like, hey, you're graduating. Like, what was your final project? So
Okay.
this was that. I also got the curator of the Denver Art Museum to go to, which was kind of cool because she never goes to shows like that. And I don't know. So I guess I did a lot of marketing
Okay.
ahead of time.
You mentioned two things. Okay, so now we have that. When did you get your real estate license?
I started getting my license in, well, okay, so hold on though. I pursue the,
You bought the pieces.
He did? Okay.
well, he said, okay, so I gotta finish that part of this.
I gotta know if you bought them.
So he tells me, he's like, hey, if this one fits in my house, I want it. I'm gonna make it. So I bring it to the house and I brought a grinder just in case it would fit. His house, he told me his ceiling was 8 feet tall and I measure the piece and I'm like, oh God, like it's like 7'11" and like 7/8 inches. Like I don't know how this is.
What is this up? What is this piece up?
Well, I'll see if I can find a picture while I'm trying to talk. But anyway, so long story short, it fit. And I just left it there with the price list. We never talked about price ahead of time. But well, it's in the
So
house.
you like assumptive
I'm
sold
in
it to
the,
him.
it's in the house. Like, I'm probably not gonna have to look. So anyway, so it ended up being $8,300. That is what I remember. Anyway, so it was a really cool story. So that started the sale of a whole bunch of other pieces. And then I never really made any ceramics for myself. Well, so anyway, so then I go out to do this assistantship in Omaha, and then I got to work for a world famous artist. Guys, he was like in the ceramics field, like he was like the living most famous artist around. So it was one of the coolest experiences from that perspective, but it was really painful because we were completely slave labor. I think I made more in my first commission check than I did in my whole 2 years worth of work.
Cool.
So it cost me $50,000 to live there for the 2 years, even though I was paid assistant.
Okay.
But really cool experience. There's more to that story.
Are we good, Ted?
Bought it.
All right, so then you got licensed after that when you moved back here. Yes, correct?
Yeah. So then while we were in Omaha,
Because I want to know how you shift from ceramics and sales.
it
real estate.
wasn't like an immediate shift. It was like all I thought about. No, not really all, but okay. So I thought about two things. I thought about ceramics, and I was like, oh well, maybe I'll be an artist. And then I really quickly realized over that assistantship, I'm like, okay, that's not for me. And I don't want to be a starving artist because I wanted to make a lot of money. And so then I've got this house, and then I've got it was mostly paid for. So I had $1,000 a month passive income coming in every month. And in college, that was cool. That was great. And then all these insurance checks would show. All the rent that I was, and I had no taxes. That was really great. So all I thought about was real estate.
Okay.
Thought about ceramics and real estate, and then I was teaching skiing, and so the real estate piece, I was like, I don't know exactly how I fit in it. I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to be in real estate. So then Nicole and I were making offer after offer. The realtor we worked with, oh, I feel so bad for him. We probably made 25 offers in Omaha to buy properties and then to renovate, and then we were going to resell. And there were no shows on this or anything. So I don't know. I don't know where I got that you didn't want to do that, but I wanted to do that. So then 2006, very end of 2005, I get a I get a phone call from another woman. I don't know who called me. I can't remember that part of the story, but my mom's best friend passed away. She was like my second. I left Omaha. I made a 3-year commitment to go to Omaha. I stayed 2. She passed away. I was like, I'm not gonna go. So we packed a truck and we left within days. It was kind of abrupt, but that's why. So came back here. I remember trying to get a suit, go to the funeral in a 20 below truck. And I packed the suits at the front of the truck. I had to climb over everything and I tried to get the suit out of there. And the bag was frozen. Whole bag just jumped out. It was the craziest. So then anyway, so then that passes, and then I don't really remember, but I think I signed up for getting my license right away. I think I knew I was going to be in real estate. I think I knew, and I was already planning when I was going to be finishing Omaha to come back here and get licensed and go do that.
And that was what year? 2006?
Well, so I got licensed. I joined here April 23rd of 2006. So however long it takes 3 weeks to get your license, I just did it full time, got it done, and then joined here.
Okay, so you were in 2006. Tell us a little bit about your first year in real estate. I mean, that was fun times.
Well, yeah, it was kind of like the sky was falling in the industry, but I didn't really know it. I was like in La La Land because I was, realtor. Like I'm up buy some property and figure this thing out.
I'm gonna make $1,000 a month,
I'm gonna
just passively.
I'm gonna make a bunch of money. And I didn't get in to get licensed to help other people. The reason I got licensed was because I wanted to buy property for myself. And that was really my only goal. And then I don't know, like I got into the KW thing and Gary was like, oh, well, like you sell a bunch of houses and then you hire an assistant and then you build this whole team and you do this thing and then you like step out. So I don't know, that first year I sold one house to one person in 9 months and then I did 2 other deals that year, but they were houses I bought.
Okay. What happened after that?
And then I started to get more comfortable with it. All I did was buyers and open houses. 90% of my business came from open houses. And then, I don't know.
How many open houses a week did you do?
I don't know. I'm sure.
Or was that like something you did every weekend?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was all I did. And none of them were my listings because I didn't do listings. So I did that for 3 months. And then so in 2006.
Yep.
So those 3 deals, I can't remember who my first sale was. I don't remember. I think I remember, but it's a little fuzzy. And I don't remember where the lead came from. I don't remember any of that stuff. But 3 months in, those were the days when we would tour. We would go right after a team meeting. We'd jump in the David Sewell bus. If anybody ever remembers David Sewell, but David Sewell was an agent, and I remember he had a whole huge team. And I remember him doing like 17 million and this huge number back.
That was a gigantic number.
In 2006, and he was like flying high, and he had this big white GMC Suburban thing, and so we would all pile in. 9 of us would pile into this David Sewell bus, and we'd go out and we'd look at houses, and so I did that, and I was like, oh, this is fun, we're gonna eat free food at houses, and I even did lunch back then. They did full lunches. So we would do that.
Back then. Like, that is real, like, it was very different.
We don't do
that-
it anymore.
No, no.
It doesn't really exist, like, once in a great while. So we would do that, and then, I don't know, I just fumbled through that first year, like, I was just having fun. Like, I didn't really need to make a lot of money, because I had some passive income coming in, but I was kind of set up, just for my mom passing away, I was set up to where I didn't really need to sell a whole lot for that first year. And I don't know, it was the only thing I did, was real estate.
How did that shift? Because at what point, right, you started growing a team. Nicole also got licensed. At what point
Yeah.
did that shift?
Yeah, I think within, early in 2007, we made the decision to have Nicole quit her job and then to have her become licensed. And we didn't really know, what she would do or how it would. We thought that, oh, I'd sell and then she'd sell too, and then, figure it out, and she hated it. Absolutely hated it. She had a buy-side deal. She did an open house, picked up a client really quickly and sold him a house, and she's like, I never will.
Okay.
Why? You're really good at it. So then she did a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and she really built our whole team from the infrastructure. Like, she took the red book and she called her accountant, my bookkeeper is my middle school church group leader. Still to this day. She's great. Known her a long time. And I randomly met her somehow through BNI. So then Nicole was like, I never really want to say this, but Nicole did the behind the scenes. Like, she wasn't ever really like assistant. Like, that really wasn't what it was. I would hear about it. It was never really assistant work. So then anyway, she's like, I'm not doing that job either. And so then she built this whole thing took the red book, gave it to our accountant and said, hey, you do our books every month, just like KW does, and you follow this whole thing. And she spent hours, like the bookkeeper spent a ton of time to set it up that way. And so then we really literally ran it like exactly like the book. Like, we didn't deviate off the anything. And Nicole she's so detailed about it too. She's like, well, wait, that says like 28.2 and we're at like 28.4. Gotta fix that.
Yeah, that's what most real estate agents.
It was wild.
How long did you do that for?
We didn't do that long. So then we met a girl named Ashley Nelson at this time. Her name now is Ashley Christos. And so in 2007, we hired Ashley. So Ashley was our assistant for the first 3 years. And, also back then they didn't have career visioning. They had the disc profile and then like some other stuff that I don't remember what it was. And so Ashley was like a 98% match for this assistant role. Really, that seems like really a close thing. She was amazing. She did such an incredible job. She was really wonderful. She really helped launch our team. And then I can't remember if she got married or engaged or something, but she moved out of state. The main reason why she left was she got married, kids, then now she's there. So it was really fun to have her join the office.
So what does your team look like at that time? How many agents?
None.
Just you.
Just myself, Nicole, and Ashley.
Okay. And what did your sales look like at that time?
I don't know.
Can't remember.
From years 3 through 6, I don't know. We sold
Okay.
houses.
Okay.
We did a lot of short sales.
Okay. So then year 6, let's go to year 6. What did it look like then?
I'd have to look at my sheet.
I mean, just in regards to team, because you guys
Oh,
grew your
well-
team at that point, right?
Okay, so 2010, so another name too. Does anybody remember the name Jeff Olmsted? So Jeff Olmsted was, I wouldn't say like a super close friend of mine in high school, but he and I knew each other. We had 2 circles that overlapped a lot, so we knew each other very, very well. And I don't know, I was in touch with Jeff somehow, and so then Jeff introduced me to Shane. And Shane ends up knowing like all my high school friends. This is really fun. So then Jeff introduces me. He's like, hey, I got this professional hockey player. He's got a house to sell. Sweet. Cool.
This is
Let's
Shane.
go. Let's go do it. So then this is Shane. So I go meet with Shane and Jeff's like his exact like his wouldn't really give him Shane's contact information. He met with me with Shane just to make sure, you know, because Shane's like this professional.
Oh, I love this. I love this. Shane.
So glad he
His
showed up.
I can't face is just color of that he
Just
loves
at
right
this
now.
moment. So then Shane shows up and Shane's just like this really even keeled, easy fun guy. And so we ended up selling his place. We ended up buying, I ended up helping him buy a place. And then it like, I don't remember exactly where we were in the process, but he actually built the house LDK Scott built up. Found a really cool lot in Wayzata. He almost moved to Eden Prairie, which would have been. He still lives in the house today.
He wasn't an agent at the time.
Shane was not an agent at the time. So then Shane's finishing his hockey career, and so we had not hired a buyer's agent yet, but I think this was 2011, maybe 2010. So then we're out like, and I think for a couple of years I was looking for a buyer's agent. I ended up starting to do listing, so then I was doing both. But I think I waited almost 2 years before I did the listing. I just didn't want to do it. It's like, that sounds complicated and whatever. It's easy with buyers. You just show them a house and they write a game. Well,
Moving on.
yeah. It's just, well, that's what, and then, so then that process, can't remember, like we sat down with Shane and we might even sat down with Shane and Melon at one point in time. Shane's like, well, I was thinking about getting into real estate. That'd be really cool. It'd be fun to work together. And then, so we started working together for like 3 months. And then Shane calls me one day and I don't know if he was really nervous or not, but he calls and he says, this is my recollection of the story, so he'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, but something like, hey, I have really bad news. I just got an offer to go play hockey again. I'm like, oh, like, that's really cool. Like every kid's dream is to go play professional hockey. And I was so excited for him because he was going back for 1 year. He thought his career was kind of done. And so he gets this offer. I think somebody blew an Achilles or something, or somebody got hurt. So he was like the guy in line. So he gets this call from his agent. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, started this really cool thing and we're working together and training him to be an agent. And he's like, you know, if I don't remember exactly how it played out, but he was like, hey, I get it if you have to hire somebody and I can't stay or whatever, but little did he know, I was like, this is such a good fit. I don't care how long it takes. Like, those jobs will be there when you get back. And I don't think I ever told him that, but I knew I wanted to work with him.
So he left.
So then he left to go play hockey in Germany. Melanie went, and I can't remember when Lydia was born, but was Lydia born over there?
No, here. She was 4 months old.
She was 4 months old,
And
and
we
then you
went
guys
back.
went back. So, anyway, so we had a good sized time difference, but we scripted, and I was I don't remember what the class was, that it was probably language of sales. And I took what?
You made me write language sales.
Yeah, so I basically got off my call.
You're coming back, you're writing these sentences.
I got off my language of sales call, and then like within a day or so, he and I would have an hour call, and we would go basically do the same thing
While he was in Germany.
while he was in Germany. So he's learning how to become a realtor while playing his last year of hockey. And so that and it was probably the coolest opportunity, because then when he came back, like he knew how to speak to people, he knew what he needed to do, hit the ground running. And we had, at the time, we had a 1-800 number on the sign that you'd call, because nobody's still, like, even to this day, people don't like talking to people, or like buyers and sellers don't like talking to agents until they have to. So they would call us 1-800 number, and you could do a recorded line about the house. That's like a description of the house, because the internet was going, but it was sort of weird. So people would call us 1-800 number, and it lasted for a few years. And so we had hundreds of calls, call capture. And I was like, hey, Shane, here's the hot list. Here's the leads. These are great leads. So he called those and he made hundreds of sales.
So I
Those
remember
calls.
I got into the business in 2010. I wasn't in this office. And I remember going to Bold. And the two people I would always see with the headsets before anyone had the headsets were like Shane and Tony. Like they didn't know who I was at all. And I would just see them walking around, right? And they would just be calling, and they would always be calling. Like they'd go out and break and they'd be calling. And then I went to family reunion, I think in Mega Camp, and you and Nicole were like on the posters. Do you remember this?
Mhm.
So like you lived by everything that KW like actually said, like how to do it, the red book, you did lead generating, you did scripting. I'm saying this right now and then we're gonna move on, but I'm like, you did all of these things to get to where you are today.
I went to every single training that was offered. Like there wasn't one I missed. If it was here locally, if it was out of state, I was there.
Okay, so Shane came back, now he's on your team. Where did you guys go from there? Cause it wasn't just the three of you,
I don't
right?
remember
Like
completely.
you guys built like multiple agents on your team, right?
Yeah, I think over the years, I think we ended up building up to maybe like 5 or 6 or 7 agents total.
Okay.
At one point in time. And it wasn't, ultimately, it really wasn't for me, but it was something that we were told to do. You know, that was what the model said.
Okay.
What the model said, so we followed that. And really, I would probably say Nicole. Nicole was probably the lead
Okay.
on that. I mean, she was the one who followed all the models. Did that, like she did all the hiring classes and stuff, and I would do them too, but I didn't have a ton of part in that. She always wanted to keep me away from the new recruits for a while. Like she would kind of go through most of the process, and then I would sort of be there later, and then Shane was a much better buffer.
You know, in your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. All right. So you had this team built up, and then you talked to me a little bit when I was first asking you about this. You kind of corrected your course, and now it's, you know, you and Shane. How did you get to that point? And what does the business look like today? I mean, some of you don't know, but
Evolution.
you know, you two, your team was #1 in the region for GCI and a few other things. And it's taken, you know, almost 19 years, right, to get there. And I think what's important about that is he wasn't there to start, right? It's taken time to get to that piece. And correct me if I'm wrong, your business is completely different how you run it today than it was when you started and how you build it to this.
Yeah.
Right? So tell me a little bit about like the last 3-4 years.
Well, like we all went through a lot of change. last years that, I don't know, I think there's a lot of life that's happened that I don't want to spend every second selling a house or talking to a client. Just don't. I've done this for 19 years now. Done it for 24 years if I can haul it out. And then I made Shane start buying rentals in 2017, but that took me 4 or 5 years. And he finally said, hey guys, the big one hit the market, and I was like, we're buying this one. And then now we have a couple dozen.
Together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what's your question?
What does the business look like the last 4 or 5 years?
Well, it's almost like it's been this, it's just been this slow evolution to where I see it now. I see it just playing out for the rest of my career the way that it is, however long that is. At least 10 more years. I don't know. I don't think it really makes sense for a realtor to really retire.
Well, I think for you, you've created something different, right? Because, I mean, when you look at your numbers, which I have in front of me, listings were down, but again, your GCI volume were up. So you've obviously created something, with what I assume is probably your builder relationship.
Yeah, and it's not gonna do that every year. I mean, last year was pretty unique. Hit a lot of pre-solds going into, from 2023, going into 2024. I think this time last year, I probably had 30-something million pending. This year, I think I only have 14. So, I mean, unless this year really turns around, it's very much less than last year. But it'll still be good year.
I mean, everyone here is kind of wondering, you know, how do you get to where you're at, right? How did you do that piece, or what advice would you give to them?
I've watched, so over the time, I've watched a lot of agents come in. I don't have the perfect advice, but like, this is my observation. I see a lot of agents coming in and I don't see the work ethic. I don't see people getting in, like, this is their only thing. This is the thing they're gonna be successful. They don't see that, like maybe 1 in 1,000, maybe. There's lack of commitment. You know, like they'd rather, you know, friends, or they'd rather like go do something else. They'd rather rearrange paper on their desk. Trust me, I would rather rearrange paper on their desk too. It's a hard business. I mean, it'll beat you up and spit you out. Best friends will hire somebody else. Client you've worked with for 6 months will call you up and say, "Hey, I just bought a house."
That just happened.
Oh yeah, that happened the other day.
What makes you keep moving? What makes you come in? Because you're here often, every single day. So what?
I don't know. I made a cool office. I got my deer head in there.
Actually.
And Shane's in there, so I want to hang out in there.
All right, I'm gonna open it up
Got
for
big
questions.
TV. I don't turn it on very often, but
You do sometimes.
once in a while.
Yeah. I'm gonna open up to
Friends
questions.
stop by, like Jose stops by, so like, makes it fun. I mean, why would you stay home?
That seems dumb. You had a question for Tony.
You got 3 kiddos, I got 3 kiddos. As I'm getting into this, I feel like my brain is always on this now. How do you manage the family time, the real estate time, especially as you're showing properties, as you're working with your buyers? How do you manage that, and how did you manage that early in your career? Just grind it.
There's no answer to that that's good. A lot of regrets. I pushed pretty hard over the last 2 decades. I missed a lot the early years, like when we were building. You know, tried to make up for it the last few years, but it's not an easy balance.
Have you learned anything over your career that you've now changed for the better, that you've put in place that has maybe separated or created that time, or is it still?
Yeah, I think my behavior, whether it was in real estate or whether it was in going through college, I always wanted to have maximum leverage, and I wanted my time to be as efficient as it could. So I wanted the least amount of time on an activity to have the most impact, the most return. And I still do that now. So that's the reason why my average sale price has gone up. 344 sales. I'd rather have 5 relationships that I sell a whole bunch of homes to. And I know, like Gary and a lot of other people would say, like, well, that's a really like volatile business. It could be. And I've watched other agents do that too. Like there was a point in time where I was in my career and I watched agents who would sell real luxury and they'd have one sale and then I'd have 10 sales and I'd have the same volume. I'm like, I'm working my ass off to make the same amount of money they are. And then at the same time, those homes would sell in days with multiples. And those other luxury ones, like there were times where there were years worth of inventory. You know, and who knows, we could be entering into that again, where we gotta shift and change the business to be, so you've got enough income coming in. Like there's a constant evolution with that, but I think, I don't know, I think whatever you set your mind to, I think you can do, you know, I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. I'm not sure. I'm still figuring it out.
Well. Well, there's gotta be questions. Heather.
Like, how many investment properties do you have and do you manage them yourself? And what's a little bit about your investment properties?
Yeah, I manage them myself. Well, with Shane. Shane and I manage them together is what I would say. I'm the lead on that. Where I think, I don't know, we kind of trade showings and leases. But I think we've got, there are 23 total EIDs, 2 are duplexes. I don't really like the duplexes very much. A lot of investors get so excited about duplexes. Not that excited. So if anybody wants to buy a duplex, I think I got one for sale. It's fully renovated. I'd live there.
Mainly single family homes.
Yeah, so all the rest are, so 20, whatever that math is, 22 or 21. What? Somebody, I'm not.
I can just imagine you Airbnb every week. What else? Ben.
So how do others create a builder relationship, which you've got multiple, similar to what you've got, and how'd you build that?
I wanted a builder to work with for my whole career. And most of what I worked with a lot of different builders over the years, and it's like the hardest category because you're talking about finding someone who's going to be loyal to you even when times get hard. And most builders don't. Realtors are painful to work with already as it is. So for a builder to look at their profit, like builder, let's just say they make 10% profit if everything goes well. Maybe it's 12. There's a few really small builders that maybe make a larger margin than that, but for the most part, like they're maybe making 10%, and then us as the realtor, we come in and we don't have all that much expense in it, depending on the relationship. And we make 3 to 6% depending on how it all works out. So it's a tough category. I've been introduced to mine over the years, and I've had like the 2 builder relationships I have right now. One of the guys I've known for maybe 15 years. I was introduced to him by the guy who does all of his loans, who used to be a realtor. He and I did short sales together way back in the day. And yeah, so they take time. I don't know how to give advice on that, but like you have to create incredible relationships with people, I think, and that's what the whole thing revolves around. Like you have great relationships with the people you work with, and
I can answer that for Tony.
that exists.
He provides incredible value to them. I think by not only his advice, but for
What type of opportunities?
raw land that's off market. That's big, and that's how you start that trust relationship, and then just kept going.
Do you go and do all the research on the land, find out how it can be developed, what all the restrictions are, then bring it to the builder?
In 2012, I did a development where I was hired. Small world. Ashley Nelson's family. It was her grandparents' property in Porno. They hired me to sell the property, like 14 acres. That'd be really cool. on board to agree to give me time to go through the development process. So I ended up dividing that into 3 buildable lots and then 2 lots that we sold to the neighbors. So I don't know, after 20 years, I feel like I've done just about everything in this business. I don't do it all very well, but I've at least had some experience in it. So I don't know. No, I don't do all the research necessarily in it, but we start digging into it and I figure it out.
So, one thing that these two guys are not sharing, they are tenacious. They're bulldogs. I had a nice piece of property that I had, an LOI on letter of intent. And these two guys squeezed that thing out of me and ended up doing a development in Long Lake.
That's the first I've heard of that.
The one that came into my office.
He's like, huh?
No, but the point is that they're driven, they're tenacious, they don't give up.
Very true. It's 12 o'clock for anyone that needs to leave. We can keep going with questions, but I just want everyone to know what time it is. Tam?
So I've known Tony for a little while. I started in 2013 and I've seen you course correct, which I always, cause like life changes, right? It's like I met you and Nicole and it's just the two of you and then life changes. So I've seen you guys course correct. And I'm just curious now, and it doesn't have to be necessarily real estate, because I know you've been in a long time, but is there anything you're listening to, reading, or courses you're taking, just in terms of growth? And it could be any kind of growth, because I know you've been in real estate for a long time, but is there anything that you've been really into in the last year?
Oh, don't even start.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
I think the world's changing. World's changing. I think there's things that are happening that that we have the opportunity to be in front of that can completely change our course and our course for generations. So I think, yeah, I mean, yeah, the money's changing.
Well, and you've researched a lot of things when you're asking that, right? I mean, you are listening to podcasts, books every single day. I mean, when he walks in, I mean, share some of the things that.
I guess I'm treating it like my real estate career. Like I wanted to know everything about a subject. I've lost a lot of money. Shane and I have lost a lot of money too. Probably lost $400,000 or $500,000 just in stupid investments. That's just over the last 5 or 6 years. So, well, I guess to answer the question, it's around Bitcoin itself. I think it could easily replace my interest in rental property, what it has.
I'd say one of the biggest changes I've seen with Tony, to answer your question, faith and the attention he pays to that.
Nothing. You guys got nothing?
What price point do you focus on your rental property? Is there a certain?
Yeah, the only thing I can really give you is like what our numbers used to be, because they're totally different. Like if I was buying the same properties we were buying before, the starting price point would be between 450 and 600,000, and then we were going in and doing, but that's there today. If we were to buy them in the state that we were buying them, but we were buying them between 250 and 414 was the highest price we ever paid, and that was probably 3 years ago. That one on 19th. I don't remember exactly what year it is. We're on our third tenant on that one now, but we, you know, the business changed so much. Like rents have pressure. Renovations, like I can't do the renovations we were doing before. We were doing the very first renovation I did that was a full house, top to bottom, Imperial Hills house, 1972 construction. I bought that one for $314. And I did everything except windows, and I skipped the 2 bathrooms upstairs, but I added a bath, finished the basement, did a complete tear out of the kitchen, opened up all the walls, moved plumbing, put in new furnace and water heater so I could get inside Bennett, so I could open up that wall. That was a mistake. I didn't know I was gonna be there. So then, with that renovation I did for $80,000, and now today that'd be a $300,000 renovation. You know, so it kind of ramped up over time, but we were trying to do complete renovation. So the category was like it was like if I had a build client that needed a house to stay in and they got multiple kids and dogs, like I wanted that property that they would be comfortable in. Cause I wanted to remove that objection because they can't go to an apartment or most rentals are terrible condition or the landlords are terrible. So I wanted that category property, and I also kind of wanted houses that were ones that I was comfortable with.
So staying on the topic of renovations, are you a do-it-yourself guy and do all the work in your renovations, or do you have people?
I come up with the plan.
What's that?
I come up with the plan. But I did a couple of like holes in the wall, you know?
Just for.
I've done some cleanup, like just to kind of help motivate our guys that were there, like I would just clean up, throw some stuff in the dumpster.
Chainsaw work.
Oh, he loves
I do
chainsaw
like
work.
that.
Yeah. Love that. Love the chainsaw.
Yeah, that's a good time.
Jordan.
What are you, having the career that you've had, what are you most excited with real estate, or are you still excited about it? Like, or are your interests like, because I think at some level to have that kind of productivity, there's drive, there's excitement, but are you at a point where you're like, oh, I love this still, or are you like actually looking to other things, a wonderful tool, you know?
I think there are days where that kind of comes and goes, but it's always got my attention.
Yes.
There's nothing else that I can go shift to. Not that I've really looked all that hard, but there's nothing else that I can go shift to that makes it. So like, I sort of feel like I hit a point where I was definitely frustrated with it, where I wanted to like get out. I think when we stopped hiring agents to our team, and that just, that whole process just didn't work for me. When I finally came to realize that, and then we were kind of winding down all the agents that we had, I was like, well, what's next? Like, then what do we do? Like, what's the point? Like, do we just keep helping people buy and sell? And I guess what I would say is like, there are people in my life that would buy and sell if they did it with somebody else. Like, I'd be heartbroken. You know, like I want to help them through it. So that piece keeps me in it. But like when the buyer calls and says, hey, like I just bought a house. Pass on those. No. But there's actually a great story to that too. That client in particular, really stand up people. She's did a trust fund kit, so I've helped her whole family buy some houses over the last few years, and she called and said, and she just didn't know. She's probably 25, 28. And she calls and she's like, hey, we found a house. Congratulations. And so we finished the call. I didn't like, because the relationship's so important. I didn't want to say, hey, like, I don't know, owe me because I have a buyer rep agreement or whatever. I didn't really want to approach it that way. I said, I hung up, I kind of like gathered my thoughts, and I called her back and I said, hey, you know, when I was in my middle 20s, like I didn't know how the world worked. You know, I didn't really understand how people's business work. Like I didn't get it. So I was like, I just want to explain it to you. So I just said, well, you know, I'm kind of like your employee, you know, and you're kind of like my boss. You agreed to hire me. You agreed to pay me a fee if I didn't get paid on the other side. So I approached her and I said that, and I said, you know, ultimately, whatever you guys decide to do, decide pay me or not going to ask for it other than this agreed to. Cause I said the relationship's more important to me than one transaction. And she said, you know, I was thinking about that too, and she's like, well, we're gonna pay you. And that doesn't happen all that often. Sometimes people really surprise you. Both.
Great. So you still do your artwork just on your for free time or?
I like got trees down, I got lots of dead ash trees. I made my like little coffee table in my office with a chainsaw. I like making stuff. I built a tree house that's like a house. Took me 11 months. Heated, it's insulated, it's got like got a boat here with a flue. It's got solar panels. Got carpet, wall to wall carpet. It's got bunks that flip down.
When can we come?
It's
Check it
pretty cool.
out.
Are you paying property taxes on that?
Oh, I pay insurance on it, 'cause it's not on my land.
We're gonna leave that one alone. Just because of time, we do have, lunch provided by, where is she? Melanie, with Great North. I'm like, so, thank you to
Can I
them.
say something about that?
Yeah,
So-
yeah, you can.
So Melanie, thank you for lunch, and thank you to your company for providing lunch. Shane and I don't know if anyone's ever run into the name Ingrid Bredesen. She worked with Watermark Title. She started out with Zeb Haney a long time ago, and Ingrid was like one of the most intelligent closers I've ever worked with. Zeb would always tell me, Zeb and I were really good buddies for a long time, and he got out of the business. We don't talk so much more, but he was like, yeah, Ingrid is like this genius level. Like, you got a closing that can't close, or somebody else says can't close. Like, Ingrid's this person. And so then time goes on, we stop working with Ingrid, and we're like, our team is in the spot where we're like struggling to find a great title person. And we're like, there was no one in the industry. There wasn't anyone. And I don't remember who, like if it was Shane or myself or what. What if Melanie? If Melanie were a title agent? What if she did our closings? Shane's like, if she did our closings, I'd never question any one of them at all. Like, I would know it would get done.
Oh.
And like Melanie has this personality like Shane and I do. Like, no matter what it is, like, she'll get it done. She's right up there with Ingrid. She's as intelligent as she is. I would actually argue that she might even be a harder worker than Ingrid is. But she's definitely the best in the industry. We are unbelievably lucky to have her here.
I'm gonna thank Tony because it's not easy, especially getting into your story, right? You learned more about kind of who he is as a person. Cause I think it's really easy to see numbers up on a board and think someone got there because they were lucky or they were, had a different path than what they did. So thank you for opening up. I know it's not easy to be vulnerable up here. I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for you. So.
And you're by far the best team leader we've ever had. I've been here a long time. And I was always wanting to have somebody like Kamie, that's like, she's gonna like get in there and get it done. And we've had some good team leaders, but we haven't had anything like what Kamie was. Like, we're also really fortunate to have Kamie.
Yeah.
We're gonna set it up, and if there's anyone wants to meet, if anyone wants to.